the three shortcomings that people often make when creating their lead magnet is the lead magnet does not give a quick enough win. Like it's trying to deliver a ton in a 10-page PDF or a video that's like a 20-minute teaching video or something like that. And people just get overwhelmed. If you're a coach struggling to actually get people to sign up for your freebie, then this video is for you. I'm Jenny Lakenan, a web designer and certified story brand guide who's been building websites for coaches since 2018. Today, I'm bringing you behind the scenes of a funnel fixer workshop that I co-hosted with my friend and operations expert, Aveline Elfar, where we reviewed real funnels submitted from coaches just like you. You are going to see in this video the exact mistakes that coaches make on their opt-in pages, their thank you pages, their follow-up emails. We had funnels submitted from coaches in all different niches, from networking to adoptive parenting to teen anxiety. And we'll show you simple fixes that you can implement today to double or even triple your conversion rates without needing to spend more money on paid ads. So whether you're just starting out or you've been in business for years, grab a notebook because we're diving into real examples that you can use to improve your funnel today. So let's get into it.
For those who have submitted funnels, I purposefully looked at your funnel the way that a cold lead would look at your funnel. You'll notice that some of my feedback is not going to be based on anything that I know about you. I didn't do any back research on who you guys are so that I could have that understanding of somebody who doesn't know you and is coming to this page as a first-time lead.
Aveline, I'm glad that you did that you looked at it as a cold lead, because a lot of y'all that are here in this room, I've known a lot of you for a while, and some of you are clients. And so I can try to put myself in that cold lead spot, but it's not going to be as effective as somebody like Aveline, who you really can do that and not have to have set anything aside. So.
Yeah, 100%. So if I seem rigorous, that's why.
Yeah. And I'm excited to look at all of these funnels from the perspective of, yes, the messaging and also like the design, and just give you feedback on kind of the user experience of it.
One more thing I also just wanted to mention, when I think about freebie opt-in funnels, we want to think through how valuable someone's email address is. So I know sometimes we think, oh, it's for free, but your email address is really valuable. So we just want to ensure that we're giving something away that, number one, is in line with your other offers. And number two, gives them a really quick win and a glimpse of what it's like to work with you. Jenny, feel free to add on anything you have there too. But those are the two things that I always try to really emphasize with clients where we're building out their funnels, is that we want it to be really a quick win for them and really clear what you do as a coach or a consultant or a service provider and what it's like to work with you.
I think that the three shortcomings that people often make when they're creating their funnel, creating their lead magnet, is the lead magnet does not give a quick enough win. Like it's trying to deliver a ton in a 10-page PDF or a video that's like a 20-minute teaching video or something like that. And people just get overwhelmed and they don't end up getting any kind of value from it because it's just too much.
Yeah.
So that's the first mistake people make. And the second that they make often is not being specific enough with the result that they're getting somebody. So even if the freebie is a quick win, if it's not a quick win that's, and mostly this isn't the messaging on the front end of it, is, hey, this is a resource to help you get X result, or to help you, this is a weight loss class. Okay, great. That's helpful, but to really stand out and make people curious, it's more helpful to be specific in the way that you talk about it. Hey, this resource is going to help you lose up to 10 pounds this month. That will pique someone's curiosity a lot more than just, this is a free weight loss class. So that's the second mistake people make sometimes, is not being specific enough in the result that the lead magnet will give them. And then the third mistake that people make sometimes is just the user experience of it, right? Having a clear page where someone can put in their name and their email on their form and get added to your email list and have that effectively work. Have a thank you page that has a valuable kind of touch point, a valuable follow-up, and then also having an email that actually delivers the lead magnet automatically, like a confirmation type of autoresponder email. Those are the sort of three basic parts: that opt-in page, thank you page, confirmation email, that every funnel should have. And then of course you can build onto it, get more robust, have more emails, have more upsells and things like that. That's my observation of the three mistakes that people sometimes make. Let's dive into some of these funnels. So I'm going to share my screen and we're going to look at the first submission, which is from Catherine Langkline. So on your opt-in page here, Catherine, we see there's no navigation at the top, which for an opt-in page where an opt-in page is just a type of landing page where the only goal is for someone to opt in to your email list. And I like to not have a menu on the opt-in page because I think that it keeps people from getting distracted by your blog or your about page or whatever. And we're sending them straight to the lead magnet instead. And so I like that about this page. We've got a guide, top 5 things for better networking. And then we have a quick kind of bio section where Catherine's introducing herself. I like that because it's, hey, if someone doesn't know who this page is about or who wrote this free resource, it's a chance for someone to, oh, wow, she's a CEO and has worked in big business. Okay, great. Maybe she knows something about networking and they're more likely to trust her. And then when they click download now, there's a pop-up with name and email, and then they can click to download the guide. So I like that about this opt-in page. I think this works really well. And then the thank you page is short form, but what I love about this thank you page is that it has a video on it. I think that when someone sees that thank you page, they are very engaged. They just gave you their email. They're never more likely to say yes again to you than on that page. And I think a video is a great touch point to build trust. They can watch that quick video, and then in the video, you can call them to action to book a call, especially if you're a coach that's doing one-to-one coaching or group coaching, then that's a great opportunity to encourage them to schedule a call, like a free consult with you. So that's Catherine's opt-in page and thank you page. And then her confirmation email looks like this. It says, hi, congrats on wanting to be the top leader. Here is the rules, 5 rules of networking. And she actually links to her PDF, her lead magnet in the email towards the top, which I think is important. You want to link to that PDF in the first like sentence or 2 of the email. That way they're getting that resource right away. And then towards the bottom, she links to it again after giving some copy for context of why she created this resource. So I think that's great. Catherine, your biggest question was, how do I get people to this page? How do I actually encourage them to subscribe? I think that's a pain point for a lot of you is that you're like, I have this free resource set up, I have this funnel created, but no one is subscribing. And so the best way to at least organically get leads to this page is to promote it more on the platforms that you're already present on. So for you, Catherine, I know that you have a podcast. I would suggest changing the outro, like the ending of every podcast episode, to point to this page and say, hey, if you are a woman and you struggle with networking and you want a resource, click here, go to my website, catherinelangkline.com/guide or / the URL, and you can get leads that way from the people that already listen to your podcast. I would also link to this page in your podcast show notes, like the just little description that you put in iTunes for your podcast. I also know that you're present on LinkedIn, and I think that a lot of you are present on LinkedIn. Whatever social media platform you're on, post regularly. Doesn't have to be every post, but occasionally send people to this opt-in page. Tell them why it's awesome. Don't just leave it in as an afterthought, but really make the whole post about, hey, I have this amazing resource for you. So those are some ways that you can like organically promote this. And the last piece that I would suggest for organic promotion of a lead magnet like this or a funnel is speaking on other people's platforms. So doing like guest podcasting, collaborating with other people. That's what Aveline and I are doing, right? This is a way where we're giving this workshop to you, and it's also a way to have us collaborate and engage each other's audiences. So speaking is a great way to do that too. Jim says, I love the eye-catching koi picture. Yeah, Catherine's actually an artist and she painted that. So I think that was a fun way for us to weave that in. Those are my kind of like general thoughts. What do you want to add to that, Aveline?
So I thought this was really interesting. Number 1, I'm a little bit of a grammar nerd. So download the top 5 things for a better networking pocket guide and learn how to being undervalued. So those bullet points there, you'll see, Catherine, they do need to be edited. So I think you can definitely take another look at that. I think the sentence honestly can be simplified to like the top 5 things for better networking or even like how to 10x your network in 3 simple steps. Because to me, that screams, I'm going to get something really practical from this opt-in. I'm going to get something really tangible and that I can implement right away. So I would play around with it if you are, I mean, it really depends. And please let us know if you are running ads, but you can do A/B testing to see whether or not one headline performs better than another. Not required, but just an option for those who are running ads. I really like the headings you have on this page. So stop sitting on the sidelines and get in the game. I would just want to know really specifically what this freebie itself would be a perfect place for is to me is okay, creating content around networking. So maybe you're pitching this when you're speaking about events, or maybe you go on a podcast and you pitch this because to me, that's where networking happens. Or are you going the route of like how to network remotely? So being even more specific, I think could really help. Another idea I had here was you could also have it be an introvert's guide to networking because many of the pain points when I opted into the freebie itself may be more obvious for an extrovert, but perhaps your clientele is mostly introvert. So, it really depends. Again, like I said in the beginning, what's your audience telling you they need help with, and how can you create a solution around that? So, those were some of the things that I had. I think, to be honest, the picture of the fish, it looks beautiful, but to me, it doesn't scream networking. So I would rather have even a stock photo of somebody networking because that's what you're doing. You're creating connection. This is an opportunity for somebody who knows the value of networking, but has no idea how to actually network. They want to see what it's like to do that. So I would add that in there. And then going to the thank you page, Jenny, if you want to just move over to that one. I love this video. I think videos are fantastic. It's a great way for somebody to know and trust you right away. I think this is wonderful. The only thing that I would include is perhaps a link to learn more about who you are if they're new, because I don't know anything about you, Catherine. I would want to know before I schedule a call. Maybe you trickle in some testimonials underneath that schedule a call button. Maybe you add a link to get to know you. Or what I've suggested for actually a few of the funnels that we've reviewed today or we'll go over today is perhaps listen to this podcast that I'm on or read this blog post that's related to the freebie. But I think the video is a wonderful way for somebody to learn more about who you are. And I would also say for the title there, you're one step closer to the leader you want to be, isn't specifically related to the networking piece. So maybe just thinking through how can I have those things relate a little bit more. Yeah, so that would be my feedback for Catherine.
Awesome. Catherine, I know I saw you pop into the room earlier. Do you have any follow-up questions for us on this?
I really did not. I think you answered all my questions, and I did appreciate the feedback on the things that I do have here grammatically and things like that. But some of the other things, just to be a little more call to action, a little more specific as far as what the pain point is for people and things like that was great feedback.
Yep, yeah, totally. And I see too, I know that like artwork wise, this is very personal because you painted this picture and everything, but I also see how we could do like a stock photo here and then have the graphic be still present, but it's smaller. It's overlapping the image a little bit so that they see, oh, I'm getting a guide that helps me do this more. And
Yeah.
that could be a really great kind of tie-in.
One small thing too, Catherine, that I forgot to mention was if you have the numbers on how many people in your back end email marketing software, if you are tagging people who have gotten that opt-in, and then if you are able to track how many people have actually booked a call that have downloaded the opt-in. So that's something to really essentially monitor so that you can figure out, okay, are people booking a call from this opt-in, or do I need to change my strategy a little bit there?
Yeah, I've had 10 downloads in just a couple of weeks, and I should have prefaced everything by saying, and Jenny knows this is pretty brand new. I'm really impatient. So like, why
Hey,
are people
what
not downloading more? But in the last couple of weeks, I have had 10 that have done it. But obviously this opportunity came up. So I'm like, by all means, I'm going to find out more ways to
what
this up a
great
little bit.
timing is that? That's
Exactly.
awesome.
But one of the things that I thought was, and I love it when people say stuff that are not obvious to me. Like for me, it's, oh, clearly people know. When you mentioned the part about having a page that tells people more about me, or maybe there's something on that page that tells more about me, because in most cases, people are not going to know me as well as I think they might. Because right now, a lot of the feedback I'm getting is from my local network, but eventually I would like it to be beyond that. So that's a
Yeah.
great do that now.
Yeah, exactly. And that's for anybody, actually, Catherine. That's great. That's great that you mentioned that because that's anybody who maybe you want to run cold traffic or you want to feature this freebie for a new audience that you're collaborating with. They have no idea who you are, what you do, or what you provide. So, yeah, being really good at telling your story is a skill for sure. I'm glad you got some good feedback from that.
Okay, perfect. Now we're going to move on to Anna. Anna's niche will speak for itself as well. I'm going to close Catherine's tabs. Okay, so this is Anna. I think her last name is pronounced Saronis, and she's a coach for adoptive parents who have adopted. So my first point of feedback here is that this is her opt-in section. This is actually just a section that's on her homepage. There's not a dedicated opt-in page for this, which is okay. Like it's not a bad idea to have a form embedded directly on your homepage or another place on your site, like your blog, where you want to really strongly call people to action. That way they don't have to click over to an opt-in page. That said, I think it is a good idea to still have a dedicated opt-in page for your freebies or your lead magnets, because then you can direct traffic there directly. Like you can on your podcast, or when you guest on the podcast, or when you are telling your friends about it or whatever, you can send them directly to that opt-in page and they don't get distracted by, like we talked about earlier, your menu and your blog and your about page and stuff. So that's my first point of feedback. And then I also think that it would be helpful to have this button, instead of saying subscribe to my community, I think it would be helpful if it said something like read the 3 questions, because that would tie in more directly to the headline. Like right now, this says 3 questions every parent must ask before talking to their child about adoption, which is that's a very specific pain point. It's a very specific result. I love that. But then subscribe to my community confuses me because it's, wait, am I getting this or am I not? She does say it here. You'll be redirected to my freebie, but I think that it would be better just to have the button say that. This is the thank you page. And it says freebie unlocked, 3 questions every parent must ask before talking about adoption to their child. And I actually took the time to just read all of this copy, and I found it actually extremely compelling. I thought it was a really good storytelling piece. She's got a picture of her and her adoptive daughter as she tells this really beautiful story about the first time her daughter started to ask questions when she was really young. I thought that was really beautiful. And I know that, Aveline, you're going to bring up a little later your thoughts on maybe a different way to format this page, or is it a blog post or is it a PDF? So I'll leave that to you to talk more about. But my questions here on this page were, this is the section that's the meat of the 3 questions, right? She tells this story higher up, and I love that, and that kind of drew me in. But then once I got down here, I almost skipped past this section because the text is hard to read. It's all caps. It's very small. These subheadings that actually list the questions. And there was no labeling of question 1, question 2, question 3. So I just think this is so valuable. This content is so valuable that it could really be designed in a way that helped it stand out a little more and be easier to scan. That's my thought on the design of this. I avoid all caps if it's more than just a couple of words because it is harder to read. But if it were just here is how, and that was a little subheading, that's great. Leave it all caps, not a big deal. But if we're getting into longer sentences, all caps just gets hard to read. So that's a suggestion for all of you, just like a design pointer. I also would suggest that on some of these sections, especially like this one, this is just another kind of web design tip for you. It's actually best practice to not have more than 70 or 80 characters on one continuous line of text, just for readability's sake. It just gets really hard to read the text when there are more than 70 or 80 characters on one line. So that's just something to think about as you're creating your own pages. I know some of you like to throw things together really quickly for workshops that you do and stuff, and I think that's awesome. Just keep that in mind to have line breaks or have the content not be so wide so that it's still really readable. I also did not get an email after I opted in to this. There wasn't a confirmation email piece, I don't think. So that would definitely be a suggestion for Anna, is to add a confirmation email that maybe links back to this page and also nurtures and encourages them to take the next step with her. So those were my thoughts. Aveline, I'm really curious to hear what you would add though.
Yeah, I think that's great feedback. The landing pages were definitely a point where I agree there. I think having a separate opt-in page would be helpful just for somebody to know and understand what they're opting into. I think there was that other page that they had. I was just unsure of where that was living because on your site it still goes down to the homepage to this anchor. Yeah, just a bit confusion there. I think if you wanted somebody to go to just the talking about adoption page, because go to the thank you page there, Jenny. Yeah, talking about adoption. I think this is what you meant to have as like the designated freebie page. So I agree. I love the copy. Actually, I think it's super valuable. I love the picture of you and your adopted daughter. I think including more of that would be great for somebody to understand who you are and how you help them. And something too for having a dedicated opt-in page is it also helps with tracking traffic, right? Because people who go to your homepage, you're not going to be able to track who actually signs up from, you can track who signs up from this, but going to your actual page will give you a little bit more insight there in terms of data. On the thank you page there, I noticed you had a upsell or a smaller offer, I should say, of it was $199 big attachment tools offer. So I'm not sure if that would be in line or something that you could offer on the thank you page. So someone opts in, they give their email address, and then perhaps they write in the thank you page, you have a little video that talks about, hey, here's this tool, here's why it would relate. It may not, but it's just an idea. Or to think through what would be a very enticing offer to go after this freebie that you could either sell on the thank you page or in subsequent emails. You had asked, where do I go next with subsequent emails and overall feedback? So in those subsequent emails, I would say, think about what the biggest pain points your ideal client would have, and then potentially that would lead them to book a call with you. So, what are those things, and how could you then say, if you're dealing with this, book a call with me. If you're dealing with this, book a call with me. It's not super apparent to me in this opt-in, which is fine. It's a value add. But then after that, once you know that they're interested, it's a great opportunity. They're already in, they've already put their email address and their information. So that's an opportunity for you to say, hey, let's go a step further. Let's really get to know each other and understand why I can help you with what you're dealing with. And then another automation, if you don't know about what I do, we're all about processes and automation. We help businesses run on autopilot essentially. So a possible automation that I've seen be really successful is you could follow up if they don't book a call with you. So if they opted in and they don't book a call, you can segment them or tag them in your email marketing software and just send a couple follow-ups there. And yeah, just overall for those subsequent emails, really explaining who you are, what you do, and why it could be super helpful for them to work with you.
And especially when you're selling with a consult, I always remind my web design clients, it's look, your goal is not to sell them on working with you in your emails and on your web page and everything. Your goal is to get them to book a call, to encourage them and help them see the value of that. And in the emails to really focus on, it would be helpful to focus on, look, like regardless of whether or not we work together, like this is the clarity you're going to get on the call. This is what you're going to walk away with.
Yes.
And make it tangible and just more result focused for them. That way they really start to value that call as, oh, this is something I can get value from. It's not just a sales pitch.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, awesome. So now we're going to hop on to Jennifer. I'm pulling up all of her links right now. So Jennifer she's a coach for moms that have experienced baby loss. So this is her opt-in page. It's Surviving Mother's Day as a Stillbirth Mom in a World That Doesn't Understand You. It's a workshop that she's doing just before Mother's Day, coming up here soon. And I love this name because I think that this copy is so compelling. It's so relatable. It's very specific. And we talked about that earlier, but having your free resource, whether it's a lead magnet or a workshop or whatever, solve a very specific problem, it makes it just a lot more likely that someone will take advantage of it and get value from it. This is a very timely pain point. My thought here from a design standpoint is that these registration buttons are a little bit harder to read. So I would suggest making them the full width of this image, like not having this white space here, but just making them a bit wider. And then you can probably get that text to just be on 2 lines instead of on 3 lines, which, like we talked about earlier, all caps text can be a little bit harder to read. And so having fewer lines that it is on makes it easier to read. I would suggest that for the registration buttons throughout, especially because that's the most important copy on the whole page, right? Is like we want them, or maybe not the most important copy, but it's the most important point that they need to take, the action they need to take. That would be my suggestion. I love the copy. I think that this is all just really awesome. I would suggest, I'm going to look at this as if I were on mobile. On mobile, there's this one section that has quite a bit of like space left and right. So on your site, I would go edit that and just make it more equal to the width of the boxes above and below it. That way it's not so smushed on mobile. That's another important point, you guys, is a lot of times we're editing and reviewing and giving feedback out on our pages on desktop, and we miss the mobile. And mobile, especially if you're doing any kind of paid advertising or advertising a lot on social media, mobile is actually what most people are going to see your page on. So I would just strongly suggest you're making sure that mobile preview is part of your testing process and your feedback and editing process. But otherwise, opt-in page, I think, is very compelling. The only messaging thing that I had here, I thought ideas for an easier day was a little bit confusing to me. So I understand after I thought about it for a minute what you were trying to say. You're like, I'm going to give you ideas to have an easier Mother's Day on a day that's often very difficult for women who have experienced the loss. I think maybe a better way to say that would be ideas to make Mother's Day easier. That way it's not like ideas for another day when things might be easier. No, this is ideas for Mother's Day to make it easier, if that makes sense. That's my messaging feedback. My thought on the thank you page, this is her thank you page after someone actually opts in. I love the GIF. I think it's really cute and personable. But on mobile, again, if we look at that, there is quite a big gap here. And this may just be because of the way that Kit, which is what she's using for her email tool, it just may be that kind of a function of its editor. But if there's a way that you can diminish that, the GIF is going to get lost for people on mobile. They're probably just going to see this and then they're not going to scroll any further. If you had it a little closer to that top section, it'd be more visible. And I think it's a cool, like, personal touch point. That's a thought there. I would suggest, going back to the opt-in page, I would suggest that this body text is a little bit small. It's 16 pixels, which is, I think 16 pixels is okay for mobile, but on desktop, I much prefer 18 as the starting point. And sometimes we can go even bigger, but 18 pixels is the bare minimum that I like for body text on desktop. Just again, for readability's sake. People are scanning. We want this to not be hard for them to read. Otherwise, they're not going to read it. Jennifer did also send in her sales page, which is what she offers them on the, I'm assuming what she's going to offer them in the workshop and in the emails and everything. And my thought on this was like things that are similar to the opt-in page in terms of just check out the padding on mobile. I would also take a look at the line spacing. So you'll see here that this section ends up being a little bit tricky to read, similar with these boxes. And part of the reason why is because the space between lines is small. If you go into your editor and you just swipe that toggle so that the spacing between this program and You'll Learn and You're a Different Person, it'll just give you some more breathing room between those lines, which makes it easier to read. That was my main like design point on this sales page, was to increase that line spacing. I think that as far as the content you have, it's very descriptive. I love on the testimonials how Jennifer includes like Gracie's mom and Sage's mom in these, because it just emphasizes the baby loss and that brings in a very personal element, which I found very touching. My only other design thought on this page was that this photo of you, Jennifer, to me, because you're wearing a blazer, like it just feels very stiff, a little compared to the rest of the page. Like the rest of the page is very soft and there's all these beautiful cozy stock photos and the colors are very soft. But then this photo looks much more like professional and polished and stiff. I wonder if we could get you in some like a sweater or just something that's a little bit like softer, because it's the only picture of you on the page. So those are my thoughts there. I love the confirmation email as well that you sent. Let me click on that. So the subject line is confirmation. Your spot for Surviving Mother's Day is saved, which is great. You give them all the details. You give them the Zoom link. You summarize where they're going to, what they're going to get out of this. And then in the PS, I love that you included know another mom who might need some extra love on Mother's Day too. Share this link so they can join. I think that's a great tip when you're doing a live event like a workshop. Encourage people to share. You can also encourage them to share if it's a PDF though, or something else, but the live workshop makes it even more compelling. Those are my thoughts. Aveline, what do you have to add?
I'm a mother as well, so I thought this was really beautiful. I don't have any feedback on the copy in the beginning. However, I think the ideas for an easier day isn't clear. I agree with Jenny, definitely changing that. I love the last line. So if you go down to the bottom of it, I love that last line. I think we are getting to an age where people's attention spans are like goldfish. So if you want to highlight that in a way, I think that would be great. And I have no idea who you are when I look at this page. There's no pictures of you, there's no bio. So again, if I am coming to you and I have just experienced loss, I don't know and trust you enough to come to this. So maybe think through how maybe it's just a bio at the end. Maybe instead of that coffee picture, it's a picture of you at home or on Zoom or like something that feels really relatable to somebody who has experienced this and wants to have a place, like you said, a safe space to come and to relate with other mamas. So that was for the opt-in page. For the thank you page, I think there could be something that they could use while they are waiting for the webinar. So I mentioned this before, but a podcast to listen to, a blog to read, somewhere where they can go to learn more about you and what you do before the webinar. This doesn't even have your name on it. I didn't know if that GIF was of you because I just went to your opt-in page. I didn't see a picture of you. And then I went to this page. I didn't know if maybe this was you or this was someone else. So I think just being able to and it seems very basic, but it's a way for somebody to be like, oh, and then I went to your other page and I was like, oh, she's been doing this for years. This is her experience, et cetera, et cetera. So it helps somebody relate a lot more to your expertise and helps them to understand, oh, okay, that's why she can help me. That's why I should go to this webinar. That's why I should show up live. I would also say for this course page, you have a stock photo in there that's just a woman with hair. That doesn't tell me, again, I'm all about using a photo of yourself. And I know she's opening a piece of paper, but maybe you can, like a map, maybe you can have one of yourself doing that or something that feels a little bit more personable. So that would be my feedback there. For the confirmation email, I love it. I agree. It feels very relatable. I love that you invited other mamas. The only recommendation there, I would say on expanding on what you mean by you'll learn tools. Because for me personally, that's not tangible enough for me to come live. So what tools am I going to be learning that's going to help me survive Mother's Day? Just being a little bit more specific there to the pain point. You also asked how many emails should I send who didn't sign up for the webinar, and after the course launch is closed, should I offer a waitlist option to get ready for the next launch? So I'll just speak to those two things. One, if they didn't sign up for the webinar, you can segment them into a group or use a tag to send emails to only those who haven't signed up. I would do 2 to 3, just really practical why you should come. And then those who signed up for the webinar, just multiple emails and reminders to encourage them to come live and what's going to make the difference if they come live versus watching the replay. And then for the wait list, I think it really depends when you're planning to launch and how often, but I would say yes, email out to your list, email out to those who didn't sign up for the course after you do your webinar. And especially those who signed up for your webinar and didn't purchase, those are more warm, right? Because they attended the webinar itself and offer the wait list. It's a great way for you to gauge interest, to know what times of the year to launch, to know what's going to be really tangible for them. I'm always a big fan of feedback forms as well, if you wanted to send that out to anybody who attended the webinar itself. And when you do the wait list, point out the exact benefits of joining. So if you do a wait list, even if it's a very short form or a little page, I've seen this been, especially with a lot of my coaching clients, it has helped a lot with conversion. And the reason it has is because it's exclusive. You're joining this exclusive wait list in order to come, and maybe they get first dibs on the course. Maybe they get a discount code. You can decide what that looks like, but making the wait list more exclusive is going to encourage conversion there.
You're like offering them some kind of bonus that only people on the wait list get, or
Exactly.
something tangible. I love that. Great idea. We will move on to Jill. Pull up your opt-in page. Jill, you had sent in a couple of different opt-ins. So I'm going to speak a little bit to both of them. This is the first one. So Jill is a coach for teens and parents of teens that deal with anxiety. Forgive me if I'm butchering that niche, Jill, you can correct me in the comments. All things anxiety. So this is anxiety, 5 lies to watch for. This is her opt-in page. And my thought on this one, Jill, is that you could use some imagery on this page. So like we talked earlier about Catherine's, where, hey, let's have a picture of a happy mom and their teen, or a happy mom and their child, because that's the result that people want. Or even just a mock-up of the PDF, like the title page of the 5 lies, if it's a PDF, or both. So that is my thought there. It just is going to help the page connect a little bit more visually. And then you also had a mindfulness guide, which I believe that the opt-in for that mindfulness guide was a section like Anna's was earlier, where it wasn't an actual, let's see, it's on your about page, like partway down. I scrolled past it right here. There's this mindfulness guide. And if they click on it, it gives them a pop-up. I think, again, like we've talked about earlier, having a dedicated opt-in page for this is going to make it easier to send people there. You did not have a thank you page for your anxiety opt-in that we looked at earlier, and I think adding one would be a great touch point. You do have one for this mindfulness guide, but I do think, and it does upsell like that free session, or it encourages people to book a call. Consider adding a thank you page or a thank you video to this page, or like some of the tips that Aveline gave Catherine earlier about giving them other kind of ways to get to know you, or just make it a stronger touch point. I think that would be really awesome. Your biggest question was, you were like, hey, how do I get people to sign up and stay on the page longer, or just engage with you and ask you questions? Honestly, a lot of the things that I said earlier to Catherine would apply as far as like how to market this, is especially the collaborations and the speaking. I think would be really awesome for you to find audiences where there's like a lot of overlap with the audience of the other person that you might collaborate with, but they don't offer exactly the same thing that you do. And that's a really great opportunity for you to provide value to their audience and grow your own. Those are my thoughts. What do you have to add, Aveline?
Yeah, I think similarly, you have the bones of a funnel, but definitely not built out fully yet. That initial thank you or opt-in page is just a form essentially. So thinking through a lot of what we have spoken about today already about right away who this is for, why should they opt in, who are you, and all of that. I also think maybe trying out different copy there. I think anxiety, 5 lies that keep you suffering isn't bad, but maybe 5 lies that keep you anxious if they're truly trying to break free from anxiety and if that's the problem that you solve for people. So being really clear about that. And then a bio section, more like Jenny said, more visuals, perhaps testimonials. There's a lot that's a good opportunity for you to input here for somebody. Again, thinking about that email address being super valuable. It has to be very valuable for somebody to give you that information, right? Yeah, you had mentioned for people to ask me questions. I don't know if that would be appropriate for an opt-in funnel. That's normally appropriate for a sales page. We've used, if you want people to engage more, we've used a tech called Video Ask, where you do a little video and there's a chat and then you get emailed that question if that's your goal. But I would ask why you want people to ask more questions. And the best way to do that as well is when you have a fully built out funnel, you're able to also say in those follow-up emails, hit reply. Let me know what you can engage that way. They can ask you questions that way as well. And then you know that these are people that you can help. I agree with Jenny in the thank you page that you can have a video, again, show your face, who you are, why what you do and your expertise can help people and help support them through their anxiety. So being really clear and direct with that.
Yeah, and one thing that I had forgotten to say too is, Jill, in your autoresponder email, which you do have one, I got that, I've tested this. And in that email, you say something along the lines of, "Hey, do this exercise and bring it to our free chat and I'll help you with the next step." Like you're almost assuming in the email that they've already booked the call. I could just see that being confusing to a subscriber if I hadn't booked a call and then I get an email, the autoresponder confirmation email that says, "Save your notes and bring it to the free chat and I'll help you with the next step. I'm looking forward to talking with you." But if I didn't book the call and there's also no link to book the call in the email, then that could be confusing. So I would think about revising that copy a little bit to not assume they've booked, but to call them to action to book and then link to your consults in the email. So any follow-up questions, Jill? You're here. So
Yeah, thank you so much for all of that. The the question about adding more to this page that we're looking at, no, not this one, the one before that's just a white page with a form. I guess in the past, I had thought we want this to be just really simple, that they've already seen my face, they've already seen all those things on other pages, and then just this is like not distracting. I totally agree with what you're saying, and I'm just curious the thinking of like when they get to this page, then they're looking at all these other things, and they're like, I just was trying to sign up. So I think that's why, like years ago when we designed it that way, and I'm totally up for whatever you think.
Yeah, definitely. So think about if you're going on a summit and you maybe some of your audience is there, but perhaps you're just speaking at a summit and nobody knows who you are. Maybe you tell them that you help coach people who have anxiety. And you're like, actually, I have this really great guide. Can I send you a link to it?
They only get this link, right?
They only get this link. Yeah.
Which is the
So
same at the summits I've spoke at. Exactly. They'll sign up just through this. Okay, that makes sense.
yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. Distracting, no, because you're not talking about here is my laundry list of all the other things, like all the other offers I have. You're speaking to the person who this guide is perfect for. That shouldn't be distraction. That should just be, who is Jill Freestone? Why do I need this guide? What problem are you solving? And how can this guide be a glimpse of what it would be like to work with you?
yeah, the imagery doesn't have to be complicated. You could even
Yeah.
keep the copy, tweak it a tiny bit, like Evelyn suggested, so that the 5 lies that keep you anxious, so it's a little more connected to the anxiety piece. But even if you're just adding a really simple image, like a stock photo of, like we talked about earlier, that's exactly what Curry and Crabtree does on this opt-in page. And this page I know converts better for them than like the multi-section, really long opt-in pages that they have recorded. So you've got all the elements of this. It's just about adding imagery.
Thank you.
You are so welcome. All right, now we're going to move on to Leann. My thoughts on Leann's opt-in page and her thank you page is that this could be set up as a landing page. She has her menu in here right now, but I think setting it up as a landing page where it's just like maybe her logo at the top would help people not be so distracted. She could add some imagery like we've talked about a couple of other times. I also think that the format of this form is a little bit confusing at first glance because these first name and email address inputs look like buttons to me when I'm first glancing at this. So I like how bold this Get Connection Blueprint blue is, and I would leave the button that way, but I would change these input boxes to just be like a white background or like we're more used to seeing with forms so that they don't compete visually with the button and make you think that they're buttons too. Those are my suggestions on the opt-in page. I also think that this headline could be more specific. So I know that Leann is a coach for moms who want to love their daughter-in-law better or will connect more with their daughter-in-law. They struggle with that relationship. And this headline to me, while I see how it could apply to trying to love my daughter-in-law better, I think that it could also apply to almost anyone. So I would make it more specific for her. I would adjust this so that it ties in more clearly to her niche. And then the thank you page looks like this. I know Leann, and I know that she's got a couple of different offers. She's got her membership, which is her Connection Crew program, and she also offers one-on-one coaching. And on this thank you page, it's like a little mini sales page for her Connection Crew program. And while I think that's okay, I almost wonder if it would be better to have a little bit more content here, like maybe a video of Leann and her introducing herself and talking about the program and how great it is and why they might want to join, if indeed she wants to really just sell that program and not one-to-one coaching. If she were selling one-to-one or wanted to have that be a larger offer, she could have a scheduling link on this page to book a free call where she would sell them on one-to-one. So those were my thoughts on that. Did you have any thoughts that you wanted to add, Evelyn?
Yeah, get Inner Connection Blueprint, 3 simple ways to connect with you today. I don't know what that is. So I would definitely rework this to help me understand what is a connection blueprint and why is it going to help me. Perhaps this is something that, like, we all do this, just so you know. We all do this. Sometimes it really makes sense in our mind, and we're like, of course, they'll know exactly what they're getting. And I am very guilty of this as well. So don't feel like you're alone. But I don't understand what I'm getting or why I should opt into this. So definitely think that can be a lot more clear. I would again put a photo of you, who you are, how you help, and what this does, what this guide gives you as a tangible outcome. For the thank you page, I think it's great that you have the upsell to the membership. I agree with Jenny that you could put a video there. Even the banner that you have on the sales page I click to, you could add there. I, however, wouldn't lead with your offer stack. And I'll tell you why. And the offer stack, here's what you get. So whenever we think about an offer, we don't sign up for something typically because of what we get. We sign up for the transformation of what that's going to be. So I would say either adding just copy here that explains who it's for, who this membership is for. I would also say membership instead of program or membership program, because I think you do on your sales page as well. So who this is for, why it should help, and how you can help do this. And then instead of join the connection crew here, I would say learn more. If you do end up putting that button, learn more, to the sales page, because then they can really read through everything that it includes, including the offer stack. You get 3 coaching calls, you get the teaching call, you get Q&A, all of that. So yeah, just showing them, number 1, why they need this, and number 2, what they get. So not saying that you can include that, but that should be farther down. We want to tell them and show them about what kind of results and what kind of transformations people have already had in your membership program, or that people typically come to you for. So yeah, that would be my feedback.
Awesome. Thanks, Evelyn. Next, we've got Maitry. So this is Maitry's opt-in page. Same kind of thoughts on the other opt-ins that we've looked at, Maitry. I think that if this is a true opt-in page where you're going to be sending a lot of traffic from either ads or collaborations, then you could consider just having your logo be at the top and not the rest of the menu. I also do think that this opt-in page could use some imagery. So maybe a mock-up of the PDF or a stock photo of someone getting the result here, like confidently. Maybe they're reaching out and shaking hands with their boss or something like that. And then also, you said these are 5 career scripts to help you take charge right now. And I guess from like an outside perspective, maybe scripts is industry speak, but from an outside perspective, I was like, what does scripts mean? Like, I think I know what it means, which is potential sentences that I could practice and use and bring up in my meeting with my boss to help me show up more confidently. But I guess, I don't know, maybe that's just me, but I wondered like maybe we need to either use a different word or define what we mean by scripts, just so people aren't confused. And then this form does not have a thank you page. It just has a little confirmation message right here that's thanks, you've successfully subscribed. I think adding a thank you page would be a really good idea. And we've talked oodles and oodles about what that could look like, so I'm not going to harp on it too much more. But I also wanted to pull up the PDF. I actually, even though this PDF is not super designed, I actually really like it because the text is large. There's not too much of it. It tells you very clearly how to use the scripts. It gives you the scripts very clearly. Here's 1, here's 2. Once I read this, it's very clear. Oh, this is what scripts mean. It's like actual practice sentences that I could use to stand out in meetings and level up. And as someone who leads a team, I read these and I was like, if one of my team members came to me with one of these and said, I've been wanting to expand my role and this is how I've been doing it, I would be like, dude, I love that. Yes, please. I want my team to grow and I want them to step up. I really liked these. It felt valuable. It was really easy to read and it has clear call to actions at the end, like book a free call and explore coaching programs. So overall, I like this. I just think that the thank you page and the opt-in page could use a little bit of adjustment. What would you add to this, Aveline?
Yeah, I think that's great. I had similar feedback on all of those. I think the scripts piece, I also don't know what without a title means. Maybe it's more like thought leadership, like being an authority in your space is what you mean there. So if that is, then maybe change that up just because it's not super clear to me what it means, even without the title. What kind of title? And then I really like the body copy. I don't know practically what it means for somebody to take control of their career. So again, what does that lead to? Does that mean becoming an authority in the room? Does that mean becoming a leader, a key person of influence in your industry? What does that specifically result in? I again don't know who this person is on the page. So I do love the idea of having a bio just for somebody. I know it says about us, but even who we are and who the founder is can really help there. Again, thinking about somebody who's cold, who doesn't know you coming onto this page. You asked as well, you said clients will receive an automation email with a link to PDFs followed by 12 onboarding email sequence. 12 does seem like a lot. If you want our support reviewing them, you can let us know. But I would say if you have that and a nurture sequence, maybe looking at that data and seeing how they are actually performing could be a help and a guide to you of how well that's doing.
I actually started with a 10 to 12, I can't remember exactly the number, but it was around that sales sequence for my course. And then once I ran it for several months, I realized around like email 7 or 8, people, like the engagement kind of drops off, the open rate went down, the click rate went down. And I was like, okay, I think that just means that my particular audience just kind of get fatigued after 7 or 8 sales emails sent every day. So I revised the sequence. So now it's just about 7 or 8 emails long. And you never know until you test. That's really what it comes down to. And then we just have one more. So I actually really like the structure of this funnel. This is the opt-in page. It's for a webinar that's actually today. So fingers crossed for them. The copy is very easy to read. It's large and the font is structured. The buttons are very bright and attention grabbing. That button color is not used elsewhere, which I really like as well. That's just a tip for you guys, that your buttons should be a bright color that isn't really used in very many other places, if at all, on the page, because it's going to help them stand out more. I would consider moving on mobile. I noticed that the image of Natasha is at the top. I would consider on mobile flipping these so that the text and the button are at the top and then the image is below. Most of the image will still be visible, but about like before someone scrolls, but you just really want that text and that button to be above the fold, we call it, or just like at the top of the page, especially on mobile before someone has to scroll. That way it helps with conversion. It helps people take action. That's my one like major suggestion on the opt-in page. And then on the thank you page, you're in, your spot's confirmed. I love that her niche is doctors, so I think it makes sense. The imagery makes sense. And here we've got the webinar details that are just being confirmed, and then a message about what's next. So I think that overall, this opt-in and thank you page works quite well. I would just make the image above or below on mobile. And then this final register now button, which is actually what all the other buttons scroll to on this opt-in page, I would make this button also that bright pink. That way it stands out and it doesn't compete with this big block of purple up here. So those are my brief thoughts. What do you think, Aveline? Add?
Yeah, I think this is a great example, actually. Very clear and concise. The copy is on point, very specific on who this is for, how they help, what they're going to learn, very practical and clear. And I also love the design. My only suggestion when you go down to the fields at the bottom is to not require a phone number, only because that can sometimes deter signups. So you can always just leave the field there, but don't require it to register. And then, yeah, I love the thank you page. I would just leave some kind of way for them to learn more about you before the webinar, if applicable. If you have a podcast or a blog specifically talking about this, and concierge medicine in general, then this is a great opportunity for you to pop that in there and help them learn more about you and the services that you provide.
That's what we've got as far as the funnel review goes. Does anyone have any follow-up questions?
A quick question.
Yeah, go ahead, Maitry.
In terms of the conversion rate, is there a range we need to target?
Yeah, that's a great question. So it depends on what the offer is. I'm going to tell you a different percentage for a webinar versus a freebie. So do you have one in mind you're thinking of?
Yeah, so for webinar, right, I'm speaking mainly for the freebie, like the downloads and PDFs. And it depends on the industry, it all depends on a lot of factors, but I'm just trying to get a sense, which will tell me whether I should now pivot or improve or change or not, right, or keep going.
Yeah, I'd probably say 3 to 5% is what I normally say. We track it as well. Whenever we do a funnel build, we track what that conversion is month to month so that you can see if it's converting, because you want to track a few things too, depending on what's in your funnel. If you're going from freebie, like I mentioned about one of the funnels we reviewed, freebie to call, then you want to see, okay, what's your website visitors to freebie? What's that conversion rate? And then what's the conversion rate from those who download it to booking a call or to buying a low ticket offer? And then that'll give you a little bit more data. What's yours? Do you know what yours is converting at right now?
This is a brand new website. It just launched.
Okay.
And yeah, and that is a follow-up question is on this website. Because it's a very company branded website, I'm planning to add like free webinars and other tools, which would mean that I would have multiple freebies. And now I'm rethinking, is that a good thing or not a good thing?
I don't know, you can jump into, Jenny, but I would say typically what I see most successful is starting with one and tweaking it and seeing if it aligns with your audience or not.
Especially on your website, like at least the front end of your website, having one kind of evergreen or like always available to opt in for offer, like a lead magnet. And then once they're on your list though, like if you want to do workshops and it splits your attention, right? When you're like optimizing a workshop funnel versus a lead magnet funnel. So you could optimize that lead magnet funnel. And then once they're on their list, if you want to offer workshops to your list, because they're there, they're warm, they've already opted in. That's probably how I would start with it. But yeah, like Evelyn said, starting with one and tweaking it until it's working is going to be the best use of your time and attention to start.
Maitry, do you have a email list or people you can poll to see what would be the most valuable resource for them?
I do, but I'm just starting right now again. So I do have the list. I think my first email is going to be the announcement of the new website because my previous website is still up, and they all know that website, but it's very personal branding. My first announcement is about this, and my focus is to run a webinar and start a group coaching. That's like the number one goal right now. This workshop is so timely. And so those are all the things in the works right now. So yeah, I will start to leverage the current audience, which is small, to try to build that momentum, if you will.
Yeah, absolutely. Congrats on launching something new. That's no small feat.
Thank you so much, everybody, for coming. A lot of you know me already, but just in case you don't, I'm Jenny Laketon and I do WordPress web design for coaches. And Aveline is really the operations expert. So like she talked about, if you want help tracking your funnel and making sure all the technology is working together and so much more than just all of that, you can go to her website and it's just avelinelfar.com and check out her work. Thank you, everybody, for coming.
Everyone. Thank you for being here. Take care, everyone. Bye.
So there you have it. Real funnel reviews with the exact fixes that you can implement to improve your funnel today and start having more potential clients subscribe. In the comments, let me know which funnel mistake surprised you the most and let me know what kind of freebie you're working on now. I'm curious to hear. If you found this helpful, hit the like and subscribe button for more content just like this to help you improve your coaching website. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.